Good morning, good morning, good morning again, folks. I'm sitting more comfortably again because, yeah, you can see the charger worked. Thank God. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we are going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, got just the new glasses. In the description box, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non for profit started. Oh my God, I started the long version. Sorry, it's boring. If you are unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign and the campaign against the troubled teen industry, I encourage you to please open up the description box. In it, you're going to find all the pertinent links. In particular, I want you to take note of NeuroClastic's article. They are non for profit started by autistics for autistics. They interviewed in that article over 900 ABA professionals from all over the world in regards to the Trotberg Educational Center's so called behavior modification program. Judge Rotenberg Educational Center felt so threatened by this particular article that they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit. They didn't remove it from their website. NeuroClastic has refused, so please read that article and share it on all your social media. You're going to see their public statement in there in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to the GoFundMe, because we are crowdfunding in case the JRC decides to see through with their threat. Trigger warning when we discuss places like Agape Boarding School for Boys and the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center. You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, at the very least, please wear your headphones. Another trigger warning. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and do speak on dark subjects. So if your child is 16 and younger and watching, please, folks, parental supervision is advised. Okay, so where we left off, right? ABA is not a treatment for autism per se, but that's often how it gets characterized, admits Elford. This is one of the things most folks don't really seem to understand about ABA. ABA, in and of itself, is not specifically a treatment for folks with autism. It is also used, although not on nearly as large as a scale, for people with mental health issues. It is what we would call a behavioral science. Bad behavioral science, but behavioral science nonetheless. It operates under the idea of conditioning. The idea of conditioning as a form to essentially teach us how to act more neurotypical like. All right? At its heart, it's dealing with pigeonholing, as it were. Hold on, I gotta grab the remote. It's about to go off here. There we go. Sorry about that. It's this concept that if you simply, by ABA, by conditioning, they're trying to condition us into being neurotypical. Or in the form of those, this is used for mental health issues and other things. It's the same thing. Okay? So almost trying to brainwash us into being neurotypical. That's why I think it is insane. Okay? When you're using behavioralism that is looking to deal specifically not to treat your diagnosis, but deal with traits of your diagnosis, traits that lead to behaviors. Those behaviors being there because you're not neurotypical. That stem from your neurons firing because it's the brain. It's not behavioral, it's your brain. You see where I'm going with here, right? Yeah. Let's go on because I will never stop if I get on that subject. Its whole paradigm with a strong scientific backing, it's dynamic and continues to evolve. But that's again the lie. The science, the science, the science, the science. Science says you're a liar. Okay? Because when your so called strong scientific data is built off of fallacy, and there's multiple fallacies that ABA is just literally riddled with, but that's its own subject and would probably require like at least a good 24 hours of straight streaming to be able to go through just to touch the surface. But let's go back of what we have already addressed in a previous video. When you attribute a child meeting any major milestone in development because they are in ABA, and never factor in the fact that all children develop, and some of us develop skills on our own as a natural process of aging. But because they're in ABA, you're going to mark it as an ABA milestone. Your data is false. Okay? So if a part of your data is false, that's not scientific. That's pseudoscience. That would be like me saying me taking vitamin C is what has made me in a more positive mood with a better outlook on life. No, it doesn't. Okay? No, it doesn't. It's the same kind of pseudoscience thinking that is behind homeopathy and the literal millions of snake oil salesmen that plague the autistic community. Okay? All right? When your data is flawed, that isn't science. All right? Want to know what is science? It's when you realize that this is not a behavioral disability. The behaviors coming out are a symptom, to use, I can't think really of a better word to put it, but it's coming out from what's going on in our heads. Okay? When you understand no level of behavioral conditioning is going to change the shape of my brain or how my neurons fire, then we can move forward. Then we can understand we need to learn what accommodations, assistive devices, structures, routines need to be put into place. And we can go on from there. All right? Cool. Because seriously. Her words linger and cling to the frame of evidence based practice as a lifeline, as if everything piled on top of it could collapse like a house of cards. Maybe it could. But when you use the argument of people like me just being out there, living our whole lives, or at least a good chunk of it, without realizing we are a particular diagnosis, and doing so to an arguably successful level, having never set a single foot inside ABA. Makes you start wondering, doesn't it? And it should. It should make you start wondering. What about those individuals out there, adults, who got diagnosed way later in life? In particular, I'm talking about those folks in the boomer age who lived in a time period that the only form of autism that anyone registered as existing was Canner's classic autism, going out there to lead somewhat successful lives. At least successful in what we would call successful, not Yeah, in their typical world. How were they able to do that without ABA if what they're selling is true? These are the questions people really need to start asking themselves. Okay? Because you have a whole generation here that is still with us, that lived in a time period where the idea and concept that autism is a spectrum did not exist. These individuals did not have any form of intervention. None at all. Not even wrong diagnosis like I got in the early 90s. And yet, we're going to go ahead and close out on that, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. As always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. I will see you for the final vid for today.